Hello there, and welcome to Thank the Maker, a podcast about heroes, princesses, scoundrels, hokey religions, ancient weapons, and all things Star Wars. I'm Adam Russell.
Hey, I'm Nick Gambarian.
And I am Mike Forrester. Before we get into it, let's introduce our guest here.
Hello
Brandon
there.
Wainerdi. What's up, dude?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me back.
Oh,
Look at us.
man. If you remember Brandon from our last incredibly audio-based episode about posters, which I did
Pictures with words.
I did feel terrible as we were trying to describe our favorite Star Wars posters with words. The people on the YouTube got the big show, but the radio listeners, unfortunately, were kind of left out. But this one will be exactly the same. Please watch it on YouTube. It's going to be terrible. Brandon, how are you, man?
I'm good. How are y'all?
We're groovy.
Real
Adam,
nice.
what's going on with you? Everyone's stressed out. What's happening for you?
I'm leaving tomorrow morning early, driving to Nashville for rehearsal, 2 days of rehearsal before we start our tour with Senses Fail. And I'm kind of just, frazzled and all over the place because the majority of my stuff, I guess it's in Nashville now, but it went in the box truck to go there the other day, yesterday, day before,
Sure.
whatever it was. So got a different camera. I got crap everywhere. My wife's upstairs cleaning and all that. So, just kind of like the usual pre-tour stress. It's a damn mess, but we'll settle in and I'll go get in my tomb and lay there and then get up, find a place to poop, play a show, then go back to my tomb and proceed to the next day.
Where's the actual first show?
Warped Orlando.
Oh, okay.
And then the first show of the actual club tour is, I guess, Atlanta the next day. Yeah.
Wow.
Day after.
Starting off strong and then Atlanta.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
Who are you most excited to see on Warped Tour Orlando when you're able to bounce around? Because I know that you do.
I have no idea who's playing.
That's great. This is what I'm talking about, people. This is
I have
pure
no
love in this community right here.
Is Metallica playing?
Yeah, I think it's Metallica. I'm most excited to see Metallica. That's my answer.
Right. We're going to bring back the half pipe. The half pipe's coming back.
Yeah.
Lars is playing out of time. And then Nick, what's going on for you? How are you?
I'm great. I have post-tour frazzle. I'm on the other end of where Adam is. I mean, I've been home for a while now, but I'm still not exactly 100% there because me and Desi got a brand new bed and headboard and frame and all this stuff, and it just keeps coming at different times. And we got to put it all together because we have a small place. And like, if we just have these giant boxes in our living room, my head will fall off. My head will explode and fall off, and whatever else you could think might happen to my brain because I can't handle even less space because these boxes for this bed stuff is like gigantic. Right. So we gotta, before we go to bed tonight, put this headboard together and blah blah blah.
Right.
It's just
this is the aging emo scene right here, guys.
Yeah.
This is the bed that Nick and I are sitting here at When We Were Young Festival in Las Vegas. He's like, I think I'm gonna go with the big one. It's got a nice headboard. We're like, wow, that's great. Adam shows up to Warped Tour. He's like, I don't even know who's playing. This is what it's all about. Brandon, we are. We got.
I have to. Do you ever have the feeling? I'm sorry, I'm just really on this tour thing. Us being like old and set in our ways. Do you ever come home from tour, especially when it's like a month, and you feel like someone who's been in prison for the majority of their life and you're trying to reintegrate into society, like Red trying to bag groceries when he gets out of Shawshank?
Yes, like it's really, I actually sent, someone wrote this whole thing about coming home from tour being like, weird and depressing and blah, blah, blah. And I sent it to my personal Discord today. I'm like, I'm not complaining. I just want to say this. I am not complaining about what I do for a living, but here is the reality of coming home from tour. It is very much so like you're kind of like overstimulated 24/7 and uncomfortable 24/7, and you're getting like adoration from people 24/7. You're doing what you want to do with your life for 24/7, and then you're fucking alone the second you get home. And like, that's not healthy, like that's not that it's not healthy, but that's not normal. That's not a normal thing that people generally go through. So the crazies start when you get home. And for me in particular with this last tour, my October, even though I was home, was pretty crazy too. So I didn't really start to feel like until after Halloween, I was like, okay, I'm done. And that's only less than 2 weeks ago. So I feel like I'm actually still coming home from 2 months of craziness. So yes, Shawshank prison, all of it. It's a real thing.
And there's the weird thing where you want to be home and you want to be normal and you just want to like lay in bed with your another or on the couch and watch something. And you do that, you're like, oh, this feels great. And then the next day you're like, what do I do with my hands? So
it's real. It's like an actual, like, I didn't have a good mental day because I'm like, what is my purpose in life? Like, what am I doing with my life? Because I'm not doing like the one thing, like we're starting to write new music and stuff like that, but that is still so far off from feeling productive because we're not all together. Like we're kind of throwing ideas around digitally and chatting and stuff, but like that doesn't seem like productive, like right now. So it really is like exactly like, what do I do in my hands? Like, what do I do in my life? I don't know.
Yeah. All right, well,
sure. So there you go. If the main takeaway from this is you're going to sleep like a baby in this giant new bed.
I can't wait.
And Bayside is writing new music. That's the main takeaway here. And also hope you can enjoy Warped Tour. We have no idea who's playing. Great.
Speaking and shout out to F13 Danny for the super chat, the $1.99 to help us reintegrate into society.
$1 for each of you. Brandon and I don't get anything. Brandon, we're stoked to have you on again. You've been an author of, you've had a hell of a run since we had you on, man. Like Star Wars Encyclopedia. Now this one right here. I hope everyone saw our post, but the Star Wars Encyclopedia of Starfighters. Look at this. Look at these people out here supporting fellow artists. Look at that.
Should I hold mine up too? I'll hold mine.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Hold it up for the gram. Really want to watch.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Nick. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's great. Nick's like, it's on my Kindle. I love it. It's been an awesome kind of a journey for you, both as I know as Star Wars Insider announces that they're going to close and finally publish their last issue. And I know that was that your first writing gig for Star Wars?
That was my first professional. That was the first time I ever got paid for Star Wars, which is that's a pretty good check, like the actual, you're like, okay, we did it. So it's a huge, the Insider ending is a huge bummer. But yeah, I've been writing for them for 5 years. I wrote 30. I was counting them yesterday after all. 35 articles for them, which is great.
Wow.
In 5 years, which is, it's a lot. And it was mostly behind the scenes and mostly like weird people, not weird, but like behind the scenes people that might necessarily like get the same attention as like a Harrison Ford. And so I really loved doing all of that. And yeah, a couple more left. There's 2 more Brandon Wainerdi Star Wars Insider pieces coming. One that I did the interviews for today.
Okay.
And it's a pretty, they finally at the very end, my editor, who's really great, was like, just do the ones that you've been asking me to do for 5 years, so
that's awesome.
It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool.
That's great. And then you're also the host of Talking Bay 94, which is a great podcast that I listen to because I love the variance of it. And specifically for that one, for people who have been like, which one is that? It's you only talk to people who have officially worked on Star Wars or had some official part. Like it's not so much about topics and fan community. It's actually interviews with people who work in Star Wars.
That's right. It's one-on-one interviews with the cast and crew. And then creators, I say, so like authors or artists or whatever it is. But yes, it has to be an official. You have to have gotten paid by Star Wars at some point, to come on the show. And so that's been really great. I haven't put out an episode in a couple months, but I have like 8 banked of like crazy ones. Like Watto is on the show, and I'm like, I haven't published Watto yet.
You got to get around to it.
I gotta publish Watto. So
no, you don't.
You think you'll be doing like picking that up again once like you're done writing and stuff for Insider?
I'm trying to figure it out. It's an interesting, it's been very cool that they've let me keep doing it right since I started officially working for them in any capacity. And I love doing it, and it's my excuse to like talk to people, and how else am I getting? I interviewed it was my shortest Talking Bay interview ever, and it was more as a joke because he was at this convention. But the kid who played baby Luke and Leia in Revenge of the Sith,
No way.
which was like he was there and he was charging $30 for autographs, and I'm like,
Sure.
cool, man. But it's like how did you get the role? And that is like a 30-second interview, which is good. It's his dad was the editor of Revenge of the Sith, so it was
Okay.
nepotism. Is
Sure.
the
I got a baby. You guys need a baby? I got a baby.
needed, Luke and Leia.
Yeah.
You want
But
to
yeah,
be?
so I'm
you
I'm
agree with
hopeful
me on
that I
all of
come back in some capacity. But I have 8 that I need to edit, or my computer died, and so I need to like edit these episodes, and then we'll figure out what goes from
So
there.
wait, I have a question. And
Yeah.
I know we're talking about Starfighters here, but did he, like, was his banner, did it say I played Luke and Leia?
Yes.
Okay. that's
Pretty
amazing.
much. Like, it's just the pictures of it was, the picture of the close-up baby.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
swaddling, like, although
With an
again,
adult
to be
at
fair to
the
this
table in front
kid,
of the picture.
Yeah.
say it again.
With an adult in front of the table. The picture.
Yes, so it's again, this kid was real fun, real funny, and he knew the absurdity of why he was there. I think it was, he was in on it, which is great.
Yeah.
Because he is like 21. He just turned 21. He's in college still. And so he was there like on a weekend from college, and so like he's just, and so yes, he's just they put him on a panel, a Revenge of the Sith like 20th anniversary panel with other people who had been in the movie. And so like he didn't really know what to say, during it, but he was a good
I'm a
sport
baby.
about it all. Yes, I was a baby.
I don't
I
remember
got some
much.
good tidbits, so we'll see what his mom is the one that's holding him, because otherwise he would cry. So like
Oh, sure.
so like in the close-ups, it's not.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's funny too, like that's a little funny.
So as an infant actor, did you look up the other infant actors or adults?
Right.
Where was the inspiration from? Interesting. Yeah, that's
I
amazing.
mean, it's a
yeah.
dual role. Those are really sexy in 2025,
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
it's a big challenge.
Right. Yeah, we've got to fully commit to these roles. Well, so from that standpoint, we have talked a little bit. We're going to get into it, but we've talked a little bit about like the Star Wars drought. Currently, right now, everyone's waiting for Mandalorian and Grogu, but books was the highlight. Publishing was the highlight of New York Comic Con, and we're always kind of surprised at how long these books take. How long they get developed. All of a sudden, for a show that seemingly was, scourged from the internet, then suddenly the visual dictionary that Pablo does himself of the Acolyte, which is amazing. There is so much awesome stuff in there. And to have these books that kind of pop up, Adam and I were joking. I know I saw you in Japan, but Adam and I were joking because I was at Doug Chang's panel and I said, hey, are we getting art of Ahsoka, art of Book of Boba Fett? Like, I would love that. And he's like, well, the hard part with the publishers is that, sometimes those books don't sell that well. And he said it in the most like diplomatic way he could do. And then literally like 2 hours later, they're like, Art of Andor comes out in spring of 2026. And I was like, Doug, why you got to do this to me? Right. Immediately pre-order. But I think for people that don't understand, the excitement of not only like going through how amazing, this book is in particular, but also just the process of what it takes to make it. And, we've got a couple of questions that I know that we were dying to ask. And so it's great to have you on here. But, as far as like publishing goes, what is that timeline like for you guys? Because like, we could get a visual dictionary of something that we didn't even know was coming. And we're not trying to ask what's on the deck, but like,
Sure.
The books can kind of actually be in some ways these like you think we're in a drought, but all of a sudden like this book is going to hold me over until we get to see the new Razor Crest. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So from your standpoint, what is the importance of Star Wars written and printed media in this day and age?
I mean, it is. I don't know about y'all growing up or anything like that, but when I was growing up, the visual dictionaries were like almost more important than the actual movies. Like
Sure.
especially like the original trilogy one, which I have up on my shelf still. Like it is just
white cover,
the greatest. Yeah, and
yeah.
so that was David West Reynolds, who was an archaeologist, an actual like Dr. West Reynolds, and he kind of created what this is, which is nonfiction about fiction, which I think is like very interesting, and not a lot of other IP have that, right? Or have like Marvel does that and DC does that, but almost different of how expansive Star Wars ones are.
Right.
And so even on the nonfiction side of Star Wars publishing, right, there's the fiction element, which again still is plugging in the holes. But I almost argue that in order for Star Wars to feel lived in, to feel like Star Wars for us, like people like us on this call, you need this like almost like esoteric aspect of Star Wars, like weird names and like, oh, this background guy's named this. And that's when Star Wars really does start to feel like something that you own and something that's a part of you.
Yeah.
And so I always love seeing books continue to come out, books like this for like, a 12-year-old kid, like, and that rocks because that like will continue this for forever in this kind of age of it's really easy with Star Wars more than anything to kind of skim Wikipedia and kind of like, oh, I get it. I looked up some lore, I got it. But like to really be like enveloped in something, Star Wars or not, I think it's really special and it's cool to give people a chance still to be doing that, and then we have a whole who knows what will happen for Mando Grogu. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of stuff. And it's gonna be great. And I'm like, great, the first day I remember when Force Awakens came out, I went and saw Force Awakens at midnight or whatever. And then the next morning I woke up and I went and bought the Art of Book and the novelization and the visual
awesome.
dictionary.
Oh,
and you're
awesome.
like, and the soundtrack. And I was like, this is Star Wars. This is like the whole Star Wars. It's not just the movie. It's not this, it's like this whole kind of package that kind of comes together. And I think that's really special.
Yeah.
I grew up on this kind of stuff and it was essential for me back in the day. For some reason, I ended up with more Star Trek books as a kid. I guess because it was more like you expected the technical details there. It being a more hard sci-fi leaning kind of thing. I loved it, but early 20s, especially when I started making a living as an adult, being in a band, I filled the bookshelf with every possible visual dictionary, encyclopedia kind of thing that I could. The cross section ones, especially, we always talk about.
So
that.
good.
It's the best, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of art, we were talking about that a second ago because it's one guy. Those cross sections are pretty much like one guy that's been just like he invented that, right? He does the paintings and the drawings, and they're works of art, right? They are like truly
probably massive, right? I guess
they're pretty big, and a few of them have now popped up for auction.
Whoa.
And I'm like, that's interesting. Like they're very, like they're like 10K probably.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
I'd have to sell some of these to get some of that.
Sure.
Yeah.
But then I went to his website and I was like, I wonder if he has like roughs, you can't just do that all in one.
Right.
So anyway, worth looking up because that was, again, like you're talking about it and you almost don't even think about them. I think of all Star Wars hardcovers kind of in the same, but they're all here. They're all about to fall off, but there are the fiction, and then there are the art books and reference books, and then there are these kind of like non-fiction fiction books, right? And both though are art. Like this, not saying like my work is art, but how they like pull everything apart. Like, oh, here's what a lightsaber is, and you pull it all apart, and it looks like a museum piece. That's art, that's like a really artful way to like consume media or to like talk about something. I think that's really cool. And like you're saying with Star Trek and Star Wars, there's really not that many other things that you can go in that much depth about and really like be able to mine it. So
I feel like it just helps people get more invested. Like the people who want to get more invested, that's, it's like food for them.
Yeah. But, and also to think too, like how passionate people are about like but and I know with Star Wars in the books, it's always like, you have EU fans who that is their Bible, right? Because they in some ways feel, especially for printed media, that if they put in the work, I see the High Republic next to you.
But I also, this is expanded universe right here. And then this is like, I'm an equal opportunity guy. I'm running around, man. Yeah. But continue.
No, but I think like people almost kind of felt like if they put in the time to learn that, when you have the first time they announced that Han Solo is getting airdropped into Mimban in Solo, right? People who had read Splinter of a Mind's Eye, Alan Dean Foster, were like, I know everything about that planet because that's its first appearance, right? And so like in some ways the the new ways of us being able to cherry pick these little Easter eggs makes it very rewarding for people who have put in the time to read the art of books, to understand more of where those references were. So I think it's amazing that, like, publishers like DK continue to give us these pieces that in a lot of ways connect to our childhood, because like we're all sitting here geeking out over these amazing cross sections. And I think every single one of us would love to have that art on a 24x36, textless version, watercolor painted, all of that stuff, because like that is so part of our love of this franchise. So, for all the art, not only the artists, but also the authors who have helped this part of the galaxy in regards to the franchise of Star Wars, it's a pleasure to be able to contain this and be a part of this media too. But I want to get into this book because I'm losing my mind the more and more I look at this cover, because it's the first time for a lot of people that they've seen a TIE fighter from this angle.
Yeah, it's cool. They sent me this cover. His name is Chris Gold, designed the book, the whole thing. I was talking to him, and he was inspired by Brat. He had a very Brat summer, and was like, but he wanted to kind of channel these colors into Star Wars. I'm like, that's cool. And like, it really is like very inviting.
Yeah, you just got a hot cyan red on the cover there.
I know. And I mean, even just all the ships that are on there are all really indicative of the entire thing. I love seeing a Naboo starfighter anytime, right? But then seeing it in the same line as a Millennium Falcon, you're like, yeah, like these are all my friends,
Yeah,
so it's all pretty cool.
Yeah, and as someone who's always like tried to play around with like the shapes of Star Wars, having the TIE fighter being shown from above, the silhouette is so weird that people for some reason can't picture it unless they see the cockpit.
Yeah.
Like they're just like, what is that? I know it's a ball. What are those things? You're like, that's a TIE fighter. If they don't see that hexagonal cockpit, it's like weird that people can't, you know what I mean? It's like ingrained in their brain that that's how it looks. And then too, of course, to have Rogue Leader or Red Leader on here, I think that's awesome. Let's get into this thing, because I got questions asked. First of all, I'm asking my first question here, which is the one that the patrons want to know, our YouTube comments want to know. In what way, in your opinion, makes a great Star Wars ship?
Ooh, that's a good question, because I've been working on a project right now, and I've been looking at these ships, especially the ones that are iterative. For instance, like in Rogue One, you see like ships that are like 2 steps away from a TIE fighter.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, like I get it. But then you also look at something like the Naboo starfighter when that was first revealed in 98 or 99 or whatever.
Right.
People were like, this does not look like Star Wars ship, right? This is not what we associate with Star Wars. And so all of a sudden you have a brand new design language that's introduced pretty much immediately in the Phantom Menace of what a Star Wars ship can be. And then you look at something like the sequels, which, some of them are great and some of them are just kind of like bigger, bolder versions of the original trilogy ships, right? So you take all of that, and I think it goes back to what you were saying, though, and it goes to any Star Wars design, not just ships. It has to be like easy to draw. It has to be like something that you can kind of just like immediately.
The silhouette. Kathleen Kennedy says the silhouette of Star Wars, right?
And that's, even the weird, like the Mon Calamari, like bulbous cruisers, you can draw a little cloud on your paper. You're like, yeah, like that, we got it, and so there's also an interesting balance of over design. And I watched Predator Badlands this weekend, which I really liked. But you watch it and you're like, okay, this is interesting how they designed this new world, this, but, and you kind of think like, why is that not a Star Wars ship though? Like Deck's ship, it was cool, but like if that was in Star Wars, they're like, yeah, maybe, like maybe,
sure.
And so it's this kind of balance of like over design that's really important, I think. And so the way people describe it to me that have actually worked on Star Wars are just like, it's not very helpful. They're like, it when you see it, and that's why they get paid to design Star Wars ships, and I'm just like drawing clouds on my paper, so
Dude, the thing that has made the most sense to me is not just the silhouette, the shapes that you could almost like the most recognizable ones are made out of what you would call primitives, the circles and squares and rectangles and triangles and things you combine. But it was Doug Chiang in this Celebration 2019, maybe it was before that. Drawing panel that he did. It was like a draw with Doug Chang, how he designs a droid or a starship or whatever. He talked about starting on the smallest canvas possible that he has available to him, and like and giving himself those constraints, whether it's a post-it note or his iPad mini, not giving himself too big of a canvas, because you want to be able to know what it is, even if it's this big. And it's like graphic design at that point. It's like a
Sure.
logo. You know, you
Yeah.
make something with too much detail, you zoom out, you don't know what the hell it is.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's a great point.
that makes a lot of sense to me.
But I think too, like if you look at the, when we're talking about ships, it's like it's crazy how long like an F-16, right? Like an F-16 has been around since the late 70s, early 80s, but like we still see them flying at air shows. There's actually some militaries around the world that still have them in operation. And you look at the form language of even Top Gun or any of these ships, like if you don't really pay attention, you would assume that everything after what the Tom Cruise's Spitfire, I think, or World War II, you know what I mean, like a straight up prop on the front. Any jet for most people looks like a jet. You know what I mean? You have people who are going to sit here and nuance over like the tail fin of the F-35 is different than the F-22. You're like, yes, absolutely. These are us for Star Wars. But what I think is interesting from that form language of like how people reacted so strongly to the N1, yet couldn't also fathom that in 1998, the Dodge Caravan was this boxy white truck looking thing compared to a 1950s Chevy Bel Air, which looked more like the Ecto-1 in terms of like how much chrome and sleekness and the tail fins and the chrome on the front of the bump. Like they looked completely different, yet George was once again spot on in knowing what he wanted in terms of the evolution of going from designed, maybe not as utilitarian, but like a well-designed, purpose-served vehicle compared to by the time we get to see X-Wings, which are, essentially duct taped together and, roughed up and banged up. And then, in contrast to, what the Empire has and what the Geonosians use and all these things. Once again, George Lucas was like spot on in terms of how he portrayed time in regards to ship design, in my opinion.
Sure.
So,
retweet,
said it, put it on there, cut it up, put it on the chat. My other question I want to know is like, and the guys can ask questions too. I'm just nerding out over here. In terms of like the information that gets sourced from something like this, right? Because for the glup shittos of the world, sometimes these little books are the only opportunity that we get to learn about either a name or what kind of, cannons it has or how many people sit in the damn cockpit. Like sometimes these books are a treasure trove for people who go looking for that adventure. Where is this information source? Because like, you go back to the 80s and some of that information was never seen on screen. And so then we have a deep cut reference and then that gets retconned. And then, how do you guys do this to get to a point where you as an author feel like you have everything you need to be able to say, this is the new definitive answer?
Yeah. There's a variety of sources, right? You kind of start at the film level or the TV show level, right? It's like what was internal that was created for this that might supplement my needs in terms of information. A lot of that is, especially with ships, is like scales, right? Like a lot of scale stuff. But then you go a little bit past that, and then it really, especially for more recent shows, you even think about the Mandalorian, just like in effect, they've taken the approach that similar to 1977, they're not going to necessarily name Frog Lady, right? Frog Lady is going to be Frog Lady. She's not going to have a name. She's, and so you then kind of take a step back and go, okay, well, now let's go to the secondary source, which is Pablo Hidalgo and the equivalent.
It's just in the secondary source.
in the sense that he writes the book, right? Like for Rise of Skywalker, if something, most of those Imperial officers were not named, right? That are around the, those are not named in any capacity.
Yeah.
He makes all that, it is published or it's sourced or it's in a, larger spreadsheet or whatever it is. I mean, that's what the holocron effectively is, right?
Sure.
It's every piece of information, and then not every piece of that information has matriculated out, right? A lot of it has, most of it probably has in some capacity. That's why it was created. Um, and so then when you're putting together a book, it really just starts as an Excel sheet, which is just here are the 250 ships that you're going to write about. And then you kind of just go from there, right? And so with some of these ships, like you're saying, some of them, the X-Wing has been done 100 times. I can go to even just I can go to the original visual dictionary from 1995 or whatever, and it's
Yeah.
going to be 95% exactly what I need,
Sure.
right? And it's adapting it to the current language. And the other thing that I like about these kind of books is that it tries to use as many like actual examples of the vehicles being used, so that gives you an opportunity to like be specific about certain features that might have been used um recently. I mean, like the B-wing, for instance, we knew about those lasers, right? The
Oh yeah, but
triangulating
in
lasers.
Skeleton Crew, we got to see
And
them
you see them
finally.
in Skeleton Crew finally,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's like, okay, now there's an opportunity to like talk about this in a more detailed way.
Sure.
And so it kind of goes from there. Like the source material is the source material, and as much as I can glean from that, and then any like ancillary stuff that I have access to, and then from there it's figuring out what needs to be told. And so
Yeah.
it's a great challenge, and I really do like it. And for some of the smaller characters, right? Even the encyclopedia before, like if it's a character in the background of Rise of Skywalker that has a name in the visual dictionary, but like nothing else,
Sure.
you do have to like look at the text. You have to look frame by frame. What are they doing? How are they reacting? I was writing about a character from Andor, and he has a name, but he doesn't like do anything. Like he has a line, he doesn't really do anything, but he like holds the torch during the game of rock paper scissors, and then
Yeah.
he like recoils eating a melon, right? Like he's like physically repulsed. So like, okay, here's like interesting character things you can glean from just what's on screen. And so it's kind of a combination of that. And then but then you can put all that out, you can write all that, but then it goes right back in. It goes right back to Pablo Hidalgo and Leland and the story group and the people who are paying attention and dotting the I's. And then that's when things can get solidified or can get changed or can get added to even beyond that. So it's just a good kind of give and take of like you take as much as you can, and then you give it to them synthesized, maybe with more, and then whatever ends up in the final text is kind of an interesting balance between that, and it's kind of just slowly grows over time, which is great.
Dude, so you mentioned story group. I was going to ask, there seems to be a lot of information in these books, yours and many of the others through history, that establish canon. And until it's on paper, as far as the public knows, there is no canon. It's this it's this void. It's this gray area where stuff seems obvious on screen, but until you see it written, until you see it confirmed, like beyond a certain threshold, it's hard to say. So by essentially distilling everything that everyone sees and putting it down in an official sense in something like this, then handing it over to Story Group and Pablo, I mean, you are creating canon in some way just by the language that you add to describe things or the context that you may add that is inferred, whether or not it was like absolutely the writer or director or production designer or artist's intention. Do you see it that way? Is it hard to navigate that? Is there like a legit full database in the archives that you can reference to sort of answer questions, and when you don't have answers, you kind of create them? Like, what's that balance like?
Yes. So, answering a small question of that, I do not personally have access to the holocron, which is what
Mm,
they call like the internal database thing
yeah.
that Leland specifically runs. But that's where all the information is stored. And if I have a question, it just goes to them and it can
Got
be
it.
answered in that kind of capacity. On the canon question, it's a great question.
The
And it's
emails that
something.
have to come in for that
Well,
email have to be
yeah, and
amazing.
y'all, I mean, it's really, well, it's not even, I mean, it's very fun to kind of work on stuff like this because it's just a job in even the most basic sense that it's all Microsoft Word and Box and
Yeah.
Sure.
like it's just like in comments and just like it's just like it's exactly as if I was writing some report for something. It's the same exact way, except someone's role isn't IT. It's telling me where someone was in 5 ABY. You know what I mean? And
Sure.
so
Sure.
it's cool. But then it really, and
Lumberg is
again,
still coming to your desk with his coffee cup,
Yeah.
yes.
regardless.
So the
Dude.
crystal, is it broken like the synthetic one? Is it broken on the back or is it more on the front? They're just
Right.
like
Can we?
okay.
Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
But all I have to say, like, it is over the past 5 years, I like the first time I was ever an insider, I was like, oh shit, like, okay, we did it. Like, that's one, that's great, we did it. And even then, I felt like, oh, I'm contributing in some way to like this can be sourced on Wikipedia, right? Like a small amount of information about Heir to the Empire, like here it is, like it's official, here it is. Um, but then as time has progressed and as these two books, and then I've been doing work for StarWars.com, which has been really great. And that's also been kind of I've been doing multiple things, but one of those things is kind of the nonfiction element of it with the data bank and everything. And that's been like really cool because
Yeah.
like it's stuff that it's mostly inferring, for a lot of these current Disney stuff, which is great, but it gives me a chance to kind of like mess around.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's been really rewarding to see what makes it through, to see if my kind of nose is right. And
Mhm.
it is, and that's like
Nice.
it's a good validation. It's like I'm like, okay, I'm not like crazy, I'm not like a and so that's been fun. There's been a few I've gotten to name stuff. I've got, like stuff like that
Uh-huh.
where you're like, this is it, man. Like again, I could have had one article in an insider once, like, hey, we did it. And now it's like, oh, I named like two things in Star Wars. Like,
Yes.
like, cool,
Yeah.
man. Like,
You're welcome.
good. Yeah. Well, it's like, I'm like, okay, like it feels weird. And it feels cool and it feels good. And it's a really nice part of it. But you try not to like that is almost like the last possible thing that could ever happen though, because so much of the work has been done. So much of the work is you have to discover it. There is not a lot of inferring. It's all been kind of
Yeah.
excavated for you, and you just have to. It is really again going back to that visual dictionary being written by an archaeologist. It's just excavating
Yeah.
Yeah.
things that
Yeah.
have already existed. You're not when you build a dinosaur and you put it, the bones are all there. You just have to put it
Mhm.
together so that it's accurate too, right? That's the other part of it. Like you can put together a dinosaur and it looks crazy, right? Or
Right.
and you have to be accurate and you have to be specific, and that's what's important.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Something that I think, Mike, sorry if you had something on deck, but real quick, something I think is really interesting, and I bet this is challenging and fun, is to make this the kind of book that reads in universe and
Mhm.
yet gives people the context that they need to know the era without saying what movie it was in or what show it was in, So to your point
Mhm.
earlier, talking about, mentioning things on screen, events that showcase like a feature of a ship, like a weapon or this or that, in referencing those characters, you give people the context to know what film or show or episode or season or whatever these things were in. Does that get challenging? Because as a writer my entire life in school, I've always been so slow because I'm so critical of whether or not what I'm saying actually is communicated well. Same thing with the words that are coming out of my mouth right now on this podcast. So being specific in that way and sounding like an authoritative document in universe, is that challenging or fun or both?
It's a little bit of both because there's only so many ways you can say like
Right.
during the Battle of Yavin or the Galactic Civil War. Like there are phrases. There's probably 20 phrases that you can use effectively. And then you're blessed with the kind of ABY, BBY that you can kind of throw around if it's not around a conflict or not around a battle. Um, but it's interesting, and I've worked on some projects that are even like more specific than this. Like it's like answering who, what, when, where very
Mhm.
specifically. And you have to make it readable still. You have to make it interesting, and it is a challenge. if only because like the other part of it is I've always tried not to like spoil, I guess, or at least if someone in universe wouldn't necessarily know the fate of somebody or if something happened or not,
Right.
then
Right.
you don't
Yeah.
want to be like a uh, the narrator, the all-knowing narrator, right?
Right.
You want to give some because the other thing is like you also hope that people watch this, right? Like, there are some character fates definitely spoiled in here. Someone dies or something happens, right? But like you also want there to be enough that like if someone hasn't watched Star Wars Resistance, they're like, oh, maybe I watched Star Wars Resistance without feeling like they know what happened,
Right.
And so I think that's an interesting component of it too. That again, I never really thought about until I was kind of working through all of this because it's a fun challenge.
Awesome.
We got a little multimedia here. Let's go ahead and bring this up, especially for our podcast listeners. They're gonna love this. There we go. Got a couple slides, interactive media. Look at this.
Can everyone hear what it sounds like for us to look at these images? Can you guys hear that?
Right. So we're looking at the cover now. It's really nice.
Mm.
So in terms of some of these renders, in my opinion, I mean, to bring them up to 300 DPI for print terms,
Yeah.
and bringing them up for renders, some of this work is in some ways, it's the first time we've seen it. Some of
Yeah.
these from this angle, that process of bringing those up to print quality, and sometimes these were background ships that hero ship crashed into or something along those lines, and that's like literally at what detail these pages are at. I like that IG-12 is technically considered a vehicle.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
Yeah,
That's pretty
yeah.
amazing.
Good.
That's a fun one. But is there a particular ship that you feel like you kind of that you would love to see get the Razor Crest N1 treatment, where like the Mando and Grogu's going to have a new Razor Crest, same model,
Yeah.
different paint, a little bit different paint job, but then we also see that the N1 kind of gets like brought back into the fray and gets modified. Is there a ship that, like, looking through all the different eras, that you would have loved to see in Star Wars again in some capacity?
Well, it's my only regret with this book is, and I should have pushed harder. I should have mentioned it more, but the Star Speeder from Star Tours is not in this
Sure.
book.
Oh my God. And that was actually in canon multiple times.
It's all fine. It's all fine. It's in canon. And so it's a bummer.
It's that page count. It's that page count of 8.
I know.
Was there a reason?
No, there wasn't, because there's Disney Park ships in this book. There's
Gotcha.
The TIE Echelons in it.
the TIE Echelons in this
Yeah,
book,
yeah.
which is just in the park. And so that's one I would love to see in live action. Like, what is it? What does, like, because we've kind of seen it in like Rebels and stuff, right? And we've seen
Yeah.
Rex and Rebels or whatever. But I think that would be a fun, like, what's the gritty Star Tours, like,
Yeah, sure.
or like, what is the in-universe like gate look like? When you're like going to Star Tours and you're having, I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
It would be sick to see one of those used to like evacuate people.
Yeah, it's exactly.
All beat up,
and they all buckle in, and you're like, great, we did it. That would be great.
Yeah, they need a next animation series that has, that needs an adventure of the week. There needs to be like how they'll adapt like an old story, like we're doing Frankenstein this week, or we're doing whatever. One loves to do that. I want to see Speed done.
That's a good idea with Star Tours, with a Star Speeder. I thought you saying that made me think. I've had this like dream in the back of my head, talking about projects, talking about whatever, that like, it'd be great to run, because you can't see on this bottom shelf, I have pretty much every West End Games RPG source book from the 80s and early 90s, which was like the earliest expanded universe stuff. I really think it's some of the best Star Wars writing ever is in there. But I always thought it'd be fun to run an RPG campaign, and you have like, everyone's a different alien or Jedi or smuggler or whatever, but you're in a Star Speeder as like your Millennium Falcon, but you're in a Star Speeder. I think that'd be a funny vehicle. But we'll see. One day it'll be Mando season 10. It'll be great.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, and I think too, I mean, that this just means that we get the deluxe version of this book.
Sure.
Because
the Disney Parks version, maybe, just one extra page.
100%. You know what I mean? We're just adding new stuff to it. You know, we might get a new paint job with Zeb driving the U-Wing that we saw in the trailer. You know what I mean? Like, we got to update these things. These people need to know, and then go ahead and throw it in there. I think that's amazing.
Good idea.
Brandon, you've chewed through all of these, and I think it's amazing looking at the really what I would consider to be the language of Star Wars in these. And there's such a familiar yet different look among these in terms of all this kicked off with Ralph McQuarrie. I'd probably argue too, Colin Cantwell. Here we go.
I mean, we're looking
Cantwell
at his page,
class right here,
yeah.
you know, who is one of the earliest, you know, tinkering, almost literally putting Legos together to take inspiration to George. You know, who are some of the artists that you think are the most influential in regards to, now that you've learned so much about these ships, from Ralph McQuarrie to Colin Cantwell? Who are some of the artists of Star Wars that you think, if you're a fan enough to buy this book, you should also know these artists too?
Okay. I mean, I'm glad you said Cantwell, because I feel like he doesn't get a lot of credit or notice. Because he started it, right? He built the first X-Wing and TIE Fighter and Death Star, and anyway,
Star Destroyer, I think.
Yeah, and they're a little weird. They're a little more like Close Encounters, motherships, where they have like more antenna. Those dishes, those radar dishes, are a lot more prevalent, which it was nice to see it come back into the design language, right? You get it a little bit with the Falcon, but then this was very much his speed. And also that angle, it was much smaller, much more narrow, much and then McQuarrie kind of rounded it out and made it a little bit more warm, I feel like. But then really the guy who really kind of pushed it is Joe Johnston, I feel like. And that's really interesting, because I don't want to be like, you wouldn't necessarily think of him as a ship builder, but that's not true, because, you know, he was an ILM guy. But how his design, similar to Doug Chiang, how his design kind of can fluctuate between organic and very technical, and it all feel very in universe, I think is really, really effective. Nilo technically designed, Nilo Rodis Jamero was kind of Joe Johnston's counterpart during Empire and Jedi.
And
Speeder Bike. He's more, Speeder Bike and Slave One are a little bit of his brainchild. And again, you think about ships that push the envelope a little bit past what you see, and those are really good examples. But Joe is the AT-AT, right? And so like you kind of can almost list the guys, or you can list like 5 guys and then list the ships that they kind of built, and then they all start to converge into then who we get for the prequels. Warren Fu is a really interesting example, who designed General Grievous. But he also designed, and it's in the book, and one of the ones I'm actually most happy that's in the book is the Jedi Vector ship from
High Republic.
From High Republic. But that design is a Revenge of the Sith design for like a proto X-Wing for the clones.
Before the Z-71?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Well, it's part of the design, like the part of the design language. Like, it never went to screen, and then they pulled it to take it to the High Republic. But you think about these guys who like are so in the Star Wars language that they can kind of just 20 years later push into what they're doing. And so, who else would I say besides Joe and Nilo and Doug? Alex Yeager is a really cool guy, and he's a little bit at the end of the prequels, and then did a lot in the sequel trilogy, and also his last name is Yeager, and you're like, of course this guy designed ships.
100%.
And
speed record.
And his designs are really, really great. And again, there's a comfort in the sequels, kind of revisiting, here's the new X-Wing, here's the new Stormtrooper, here's the new, but then when you're able to push it a little bit and like get the quad jumper, or get, or even in Andor, I really love Luthen's ship, the Hallcraft. I think it's really cool, that scene with the arrestor. So, it's these guys who have kind of learned and grown from kind of that first Mount Rushmore, and then are pushing now. Because then you look at the Razor Crest, you're like, oh, we already made, like, you can argue, yeah, sure, but then you have the Razor Crest, which is instantly iconic, and that was 5 years ago. Like, things
Right.
are happening that are still like adding very much value into the Star Wars language, and that's really encouraging.
Yeah, without a doubt. I got to ask because I'm sitting here geeking out over this. Although I will say, thanks to Mando Grogu, you do have to have a deluxe version of this because, as Dave Filoni does, he puts in his own version of the Rebels AT-AT in the trailer.
Yes.
So we've got to update this, and we're here
I
to
know.
say we are asking for it already, despite
Hey.
this book just coming out. We want the deluxe version. Brandon, how long does this take? How
It's a
long
good
does
question.
this book take?
This was a little bit more of a quick turn. It kind of came to, I had just wrapped the encyclopedia, the big one,
Yeah.
and they came to me with this, and it needed a little bit of a quicker turn, at least for the first brunt of the work. So I did it over a summer. I think I did it last summer. Um, and then over time, as pages, so you like write it all kind of at, in kind of a sprint, and then over time, they come back with changes, or they come back with requests, or a few new pages, or a big part of this one was layout approval.
Yeah, sure.
Um, because that was what kind of was taking so long, because this was a complete overhaul of the book that had come, 8 years ago. It needed like additional time
Right.
um, for design, and so yeah, it took about 3-4 months all in.
When does something like, I know you said it goes up to Andor season 2, like, are
Yeah.
you getting vehicles given to you? Like,
Yes.
yeah.
So I'm trying to think of the final ships, because there were placeholders. When I started the book, there were initially a couple placeholders that were like, I think it was like Acolyte. I think Acolyte might have had code names that said like, here are 3 ships that will be from Acolyte, and then I think Andor just had 2 spaces or something like that.
Okay.
And then over time, those got filled, or we kind of, because the opportunity on these books, no matter what I've worked on, is, as someone who also consumes all of this, is there opportunity to bring something in? So if I'm watching something, should we include it? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And nothing like that is like super pop, because it's been very comprehensive with our initial lists. But there's always the chance to kind of go all the way up to um, Andor season 2. Just be like, hey, like, we know this is coming. These ships have to be designed so far in advance that you
The
can at
TIE
least kind of
Avenger
do. Yeah, and
level.
so that's kind of where we're at. Because we got Skeleton Crew in there, which was good.
Yep.
And then trying to think of what we could have. Was there anything after Acolyte season, or Andor season 2?
Skeleton Crew?
Skeleton Crew's in, but then after Andor
Andor is the latest.
is it right? So there's
Yeah.
nothing, because like Visions doesn't count technically, that kind of stuff. I guess you could have done something for Tales of, was it the Underworld?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wonder, but no ship like really like completely stuck out that needed to
Right.
be in there, except to kind of prove how recent it was, if that makes sense. That'd be the
Yeah,
only reason to do it, to be like, oh, look at us. But there's no, if there's not an actual
Right.
content
And
reason.
Luthen ship, the Hallcraft, is like it's missing from the Micro Galaxy Squadron, the little
Yes.
toys, and I'm surprised that they haven't done a vintage collection of that, because it had such a key part. I mean, honestly, with
Yeah.
Luthen getting away in the most dramatic way, which was like
The
that ship
only
was
action
like,
of Andor season 1. Yeah,
it was like it had like the James Bond of Star Wars ships. It was like shooting out flares that were actually projectiles, and then it had this like amazing side swiping. I mean, it was incredible action. It was amazing, and it's interesting like how that ship in particular has kind of gone under the radar of what people think is a really badass starship. There's no toy of it. There's really, it's kind of one of those almost like a lore thing at this point that people forget about it, but it's amazing. I've got to ask you too. DK has had a long legacy of making amazing reference books. and they're jam packed with information. As I'm sitting here looking at this Corrin fishing vessel, right? Of course,
yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
That has the size for a mama core in it. But is there a particular part of Star Wars that you would love to do an encyclopedia on that you
It's a
think
great question.
hasn't been
That hasn't
represented
been
yet?
done because they finally did. There is the reference books. The Dawn of Rebellion came out
Yes, I
through
love
DK,
that
and
one.
that's technically Obi-Wan and Andor, which is great.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to think if there's stuff that hasn't really been done. Clone Wars even got some of their own. Rebels, I think, got theirs. It was nice with Resistance specifically to do because Resistance never got anything.
Sure.
So that might be the answer, just in terms of it, nothing being done for it. But it was nice with this book. I think we probably got 7 or 8 ships from Resistance in here that are all really cool and really unique. And talking about like ships that kind of push the envelope, like, oh, we're gonna make like race cars in Star Wars. Like, it's really fun designs, really cool, and then a lot that were never actually like shown. Like the Colossus, for instance, is like underwater for the first season, so when it finally comes up, there was actually never really any like great cross section of the Colossus, and so stuff like that is really fun to be able to talk through in a way that wasn't done before, right? There was no source book for Resistance for me to like pull any language from. So yeah, that might be the trying to think of other ones that haven't been. I guess Skeleton Crew never got a visual dictionary, and
dude,
that could be.
We're still asking for Book of Boba Fett. I mean, I want art of Book of Boba Fett. You know what I mean? I'm like, I know that was in a weird time for production of
no, and I need it on my shelf, and I'm curious. Do we have a Mando? I'm just looking at my shelf. Sorry. Do we have a Mando season 3?
No, that's
so. I bet I know nothing.
It's in the movie.
I would assume
be
that
the art of the movie.
I thought maybe that they would just combine Book of Boba Fett and Mando season 3 into one, or even just because they haven't announced. Have they announced Art of Mando? Yes, and that's where it's going to be.
I have a feeling you're right. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, pretty much if it comes out, I'm buying it, so I'm not worried about that
for sure.
So Brandon, as we're wrapping up here, because I want to, we can nerd out about this stuff all day. The question that I used to ask on my podcast Armor Party was, who do you think has cooler ships, the good guys or the bad guys? And I know this is tough.
I know. I love X-Wings. I love B-Wings. I love medical frigates. I just always think that the Rebels have, and if you lump Millennium Falcon in with the good guys and not just like, then that's the answer,
Sure.
But if you're going like Rebels versus Empire, I guess was kind of how I was initially thinking, like
sure,
I would still go Rebels. I do my soft spot. I only have a couple Lego sets, but I have Lando's Millennium Falcon, and that rules. I love Lando's Millennium Falcon.
It's sweet.
Think it's cool.
Dude.
I think it's cool. It's like real sleek and real fun, and I would go good guys always. But in Star Wars, good guys,
Okay. All right. That's a very fair answer.
Sorry if that you want me to really go about.
No, I want people to battle in the comments.
I'm doing some stuff, and the Imperials, they have their TIE fighter, and then they're like, oh, look at us, and it's just like they just like do. I'm like, guys, do something cool, like they just kind of do the same thing 100 times, and they're like, look, it's a different ship. I'm like, is it?
Right, but you can appreciate though that the Empire is just as bad as every other giant, corporation of being like, you know what, we made a great ship, but it's too expensive. We can't do this. Our soldiers are,
I will, because part of what I've loved about doing the research, and this is a slight tangent, and it goes to like the DJ, like they're all doing the same thing, but like it's funny to like read all of them, and even when you start reading the manufacturers. You can like get a story out of it, but you're like, and then like after the Empire falls, then Senior Systems just gets absorbed by a different system, and then they're still making the same bad guy ships, and you're like, or even something I was looking at today, and maybe I was stupid, but I didn't realize that the T-16 Skyhopper, right? And then the X-Wing, were made by Incom, made by the same people, which is why Luke was able to pilot the X-Wing, because he had already trained on the T-16 growing up. And so like the controls were similar to him. and he was able to kind of like latch on. I'm like, I know that George Lucas did not come up with
That's
that, but
great.
like,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. You're like, that's pretty good, you know.
Like
So
you're saying for people who are like, wait, what are they talking about? It's like the single stick system versus the tie had the yoke like a motorcycle
yeah,
in some ways.
and even
yeah.
just I guess that the dashboard and everything is he was just more comfortable in it already
Yeah.
because it was the same company. It was like driving a Toyota Highlander and Avalon. You're like,
Sure.
oh, these are kind of similar. I get
Right,
it. So,
right. Versus getting in a Maserati and be like, so what turns the thing on? Like, how
right.
do I do
So
this?
no,
Like,
I truly just read that today, and I'm glad I could say that because like I thought that was a neat, funny.
yeah.
Again, talking all the way back, like that's what nonfiction about fiction can do, right? It can deepen your a little, like, oh, like that's kind of funny, or like you think about it a little bit more beyond the 2 hour movie, and I think that's nice.
I love everything about that, everything about this conversation. Dude, thanks for being on, man.
Hey, thanks for
This
having me
this is
back. I'm glad
this
I
is
didn't
awesome.
mess up the first time. But no, this was great. Thanks for all the questions, and thanks for making it happen.
That's cool. Well, where do you from your standpoint, because I know that these guys are we do our best to try to support the artists out here, and I know that as Spotify continues to be a serious sore in most musicians everywhere, do you have any particular book publishers or sellers that you're like, hey, I like this is a good crew, where can you
No,
pick
what
it
I
up?
always say is just support your local bookstore and buy it from them. You can everyone is selling it, and so just ask or
Sure.
go grab it. And that's pretty much it. And then just sharing work of any artist or writer or anyone that you like just helps
Yeah.
more people find that guy, and then I get more work, and then that's how I get paid. Like I write another book because someone saw me somewhere, which is great. And then if you're in Austin, Texas, I'm having my first ever book signing on the 22nd at Barnes and Noble, which is
Hey,
something. So that's something. I don't know how that's going to go. I haven't really like posted about it yet or anything, which is, I think that's what they say to do about promotion is like, don't post about anything at all. And then like, just hope people show up.
nice.
That's a joke, so I need to get
Yeah,
on
that
that
works.
shit.
That
But
works well for the band guys, I'm sure.
yeah, no, you just
That's
don't
awesome,
say
Chris.
anyone that you're performing, and you just hope that
The
someone
real
like stumbled
fans
upon it.
know.
Like really cool people
Yeah.
stumbled upon it. No, so that'll be fun. That's the 22nd. That's in a couple Saturdays from now, and hopefully some Star Wars fans of all ages are looking to buy a book. And but yeah, that's pretty much it.
Nice.
That's awesome, dude.
Well, we're going to continue this conversation to some degree briefly for the bonus segment for patrons afterwards, if you're cool to hang for that.
Yes.
Let's do one clip from a patron. We haven't heard from our friend Maddie Gunner yet. So let's play this, talking about favorite ships and other thoughts and things.
We asked the patrons what their favorite ship was, most underrated ship. Let
Oh,
our
nice.
patrons call in. So let's hear what Maddie's got to say.
Hi lads, it's Matt Gunner. I figured I'd ask you a fun one this evening. You can pick anyone from Star Wars or your own real life to be your wingman. And I mean that in the sense of being a pilot, not just at the bar, even though I know you probably need them for both. But yeah, anyone from Star Wars, anyone from your own personal lives, who are you picking as your wingman? Right, love you.
I like this better than just a favorite ship. He didn't even.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Which is great. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
that
Brandon, you
fits.
go first. Who's your wingman? Your wingmate.
I mean, I don't know if you've heard my dog at all barking in this whole thing, but I would.
That's a good one.
Chewbacca is just but yeah, my dog is Indiana, which I named after Indiana, which is named
Same.
after
I have an
Indy,
indie.
so
I have an indie
yeah.
dog also.
You got to do that, right?
That's wholesome.
And so yeah, that's probably my move.
That's perfect.
I like
He's
that
the most
answer.
reliable, most experienced, wisest, easiest to take a nap on. You know,
Does he smell?
yeah, he probably smells.
Okay.
I mean, you know how like your dog smells, and each dog has their own kind of unique scent that doesn't smell good, but
You're used to it.
It's your dog, yeah.
Yeah.
it smells good in like a familiar way. Like, oh, hey
Sure.
buddy,
You
smell like
stink.
you smell, and I love it.
You stink. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Adam, what about you? What's your answer?
I mean, Chewie's the one, but I don't want to. He's been taken.
Sure.
He's He's been spoken for. Definitely not Han. He's too unpredictable. I would say maybe definitely Harrison Dula.
Oh, nice pick, dude. Nice pick.
Experienced, reliable, fast.
Good conversation.
Yeah.
Good perspective.
Good
motherly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good answer. Nick?
I'm going to go, I don't know if meta is the right word, but I just listened to Oscar Isaac on Smartless.
Oh, yeah.
And he sounded really cool. And I feel like there's some Poe Dameron in there. So I'm going to go Oscar Isaac, not Poe Dameron. I'm going to go Oscar Isaac.
Wow. Nice. From real life. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even want Poe Dameron. Yeah. I want that guy. That's a good answer. I'm going to keep it in universe. I'm going to keep it to the point where you guys have all made great suggestions, but I'm actually going to be like, dude, I'm going to take my emotional state out of this. And I'm going to go with a guarantee. Someone who is an assassin, someone who is faster than organics in their calculations. I'm actually going to go with Zero from The Mandalorian.
All right. Very nice.
Because I was terrified of that guy. I know that I don't have to worry about him, say betting our ship in a game of Sabacc. I don't have to worry about him getting hungry. I don't have to worry about really much of anything other than him being like, I will leave you if we don't leave on time, because that's how he works. Also, he could kill me, but I like a little danger. I'm just going to say it. So that would be my, pick.
Very nice.
Shout out to Chris Bartlett.
Yeah.
Brandon, I have a question that I wanted to ask that we didn't get to, but it would work for an after show thing. So we'll do that in a moment for patrons. We'll see you on Discord. Anyone else, if you want to get the bonus segment and all the other patron things, patreon.com/ThankTheMakerPod. Brandon, thanks again for being here. Everyone, thanks for listening and watching. And until next time, may the force be with you. Thank the Maker is produced by Adam Russell and Jason Chiodo and edited by Jason Chiodo. If you enjoy the podcast, you can support us by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Or you can support us directly at patreon.com/ThankTheMakerPod, where you can get access to our Discord server, exclusive content, exclusive merch, and more. Our patrons literally make Thank the Maker possible.